introduce our panelists, and I would let each one of them introduce themselves, and they can give us a little bit of background as to who they are, who they work for, what they do, and then we'll have a discussion on the whole area of the Irish ecosystem of innovation, what's good and not so good about it. So I will start here. Breda O'Tools, who is working senior manager with the IDA. I'll let Breda introduce herself. Then we have Ian Collins from Ernst & Young, Emer Hennessy from Nielsen, and TJ McHugh from CBE. So I will let you, starting with yourself, Breda, maybe introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone, and glad there's still people in the room, so that's a good sign for us, I think. My name is Breda O'Tools, as Dennis introduced, and I work for IDA Ireland, which is the state agency responsible for attracting foreign direct investment in the country. I'm in charge of a portfolio of about 200 of the IDA clients, which are smaller clients, been in the country a long time, about 50% from the US parent companies and 50% European parent companies. And I also do some networking with some of our strategic clients as well.
Good afternoon, my name is Ian Collins. I lead a team of scientists, engineers and tax professionals within EY. And what we do is we try to help companies understand tax legislation and convert that into actual English, and also help them navigate through the process of getting money back from Irish revenue for doing research and development. So it's about getting 25% back for doing research and development here in Ireland. We help companies through that process.
My name is Emer Hennessy. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm from Nielsen. So I'm Business Unit Director of the Client Service Team at Nielsen. What we ultimately do at Nielsen is we help brands in terms of spotting threats and opportunities for mainly Irish brands I work closely with, but we work with brands right around the world, and what we're trying to identify is opportunities for growth. And I think innovation is the key success for long-term sustainable growth, so that's why Nielsen's here today.
Good evening, everyone. My name is TJ McHugh. I work for an SME in the west of Ireland in Mayo called CBE. My responsibility is research, development and innovation. The retail industry, I suppose, is a very fast-paced industry. We find that innovation is ripe in such an industry. So I think we're going to speak a bit more on innovation later on. As a company, CBE has been around for a long time, since 1980. But the software development company started in 1995. Some inventions that we've done over the years include great telephone top-ups, integrated telephone top-ups at the POS, point of sale, and also cigarette vending as well. And we're currently expanding into the UK. We've been Ireland's leading e-POS provider for the last 10-15 years, and we're now the fastest growing e-POS company in the UK.
Thank you all for that. So now you know who's on the panel. And really, I think today, to me, looking around and seeing the great number of people and the variety of people, the exhibition stands, the speakers, the whole event today really is it's a microcosm of the Irish innovation ecosystem. You can meet all the players here today or representatives from it. So we have a lot to be proud of, but I'm going to turn to Breda first and say, Breda, who obviously, as you've introduced yourself, you work for the IDA, primarily involved with foreign direct investing companies in Ireland, and maybe just like to get your perspective on the Irish innovation ecosystem. What works? What are our strengths in terms of, as you see it, and maybe what areas maybe could we be doing better on for the future?
I guess something that, you look at the number of multinational companies that are here in Ireland, and we have some fantastically cream companies. You've heard the statistics already from colleagues speaking this afternoon in this room. 9 of the 10 top software companies, global companies, 15 of the top 25 financial service industries, and so on. So it's been a really good run for Ireland Inc. in terms of foreign direct investment. We've always won projects, really, or companies to the country on the basis of, yes, the tax regime, but equally so there has to be substance here. So if you can't get the talent, you're not going to survive. And our companies have survived because they've got the talent. And the one piece of feedback we get from a lot of companies in the foreign direct investment space is about the creativity and the innovation and the flexibility of the talent here in Ireland. One thing, so that's been a big advantage and a big plus for us. But, that's only one part of the system. If we don't have all the other parts of it, like the indigenous growth, like the third level institutes, like everything you've been listening to so far, the partnership arrangements in place with third level institutes, a big important piece as well, we wouldn't really sustain the companies here. So it's all right getting them here, but actually keeping them here. Now, despite some of the things you might have heard from colleagues this morning, I suppose some of the disadvantage, or maybe things we really need to work on more, would really be in and around the research and development space. A lot of the multinational companies, their research and development is within the HQ, the head office, in America or in Europe or wherever, South America, wherever that might be. There are a number of large multinationals doing real research and development here in Ireland, but not all of them are doing that. So what IDA does is about trying to attract that here. And something that's been very helpful, which no doubt my colleagues here will touch on, is the attractive tax regime to do that here. So the more we try and get that type of activity here in Ireland, the longer and more sustainable those companies will be here in Ireland. But the only way we're going to do that is by all the things we've talked about already today, the partnership arrangements, that whole ecosystem. And I think it's very strong, but I suppose if there was one piece that I'd be looking for to see developed from IDA's perspective most recently, but there seems to be, I don't know if you see it yourselves, there's a lot of bits going on around the country. Do any of you see that? There'll be a bit going on in this institute, there'll be a bit going on in that organisation, there'll be a bit going on in that region, another bit. But so we sense a lot of piecemeal efforts across the country, and it'd be great to bring some of that together. There was talk about partnership arrangements, and the more we have of those, the stronger the ecosystem becomes. Trying to sell something, trying to sell Ireland Inc. on the basis of, say, we've got research in X going on here. But if we're able to say that it's going on over 5 different counties, which makes it bigger and very attractive. So the bigger the better when we're talking about foreign direct investment to Ireland. So certainly I'd love to see that grow and develop. And I think there's an awful lot moving towards that direction because that would make it really strong, bigger, better.
Yes. Very relevant, Breda. So we might come back to that. And just to say, when I've maybe got to speak to each of the panellists, I'd like hopefully to get some input from the audience as well. So you might be thinking of good questions or good comments that you might have on this topic. So just moving to Ian. Ian, again, you have a very different perspective, working with one of the big advisor firms, Ernst & Young, and obviously working with a lot of companies who are in the research and development area. What would be your perspective in terms of what's particularly good or what we're particularly strong at, and where might we look for room for improvement?
Sure. So, a lot of what Breda's already said sort of resonates with me. Certainly our track record in terms of our ability to attract in the biggest and the best talent. From a company perspective, that's second to none. When you look at the size of our island versus other international competitors, we're streets ahead there. And the other thing I think that is a really positive thing within Ireland is our ambition. So if you think about it, the government recently announced its Innovation 2020 strategy there, and that's designed to double R&D investment in Ireland by 2020. It's a huge, bold statement to make. And there's agencies that sort of are weighing in on top of that. The likes of Science Foundation Ireland, the IDA, is part of their strategy. And I don't want to take away from Breda's, but the IDA, as part of their strategy, want to bring in an extra €3 billion of R&D spend into Ireland, equating to about 900 investment projects. They're really, really bold statements to make. And the fact that we want to do that, the fact that we're openly sort of driving that strategy, I think, is a real positive in terms of our overall ecosystem. For me, there's a couple of things that I think could do a change. Certainly there needs to be more collaboration between industry and academia. There seems to be bits and pieces going on in patchy areas. For me, it's not enough. For me, you do have certain systems that actually contradict with increasing collaboration between industry and academia. So, for example, my area of expertise being the R&D tax credit, that's very, very restrictive in terms of a company's ability to outsource its R&D to a university. Why is that? That's hindering collaboration between industry and academia. And certainly something that I'm also seeing is there seems to be a lack of skills shortage going on in Ireland. There's a number of people that we're talking to around the country that are continuously looking for engineers and scientists, and they can't get them because there's simply a skills shortage. So I know as part of the government's overall strategy that they want to try and put an increased focus on the STEM subjects, even at a primary school level. And I think by fostering that level of focus at that particular level may actually help and encourage a greater population to actually get into more research and development activities when they finally graduate from schools.
Okay, thanks. And Emer, I mean, again, you're coming at this from a different, looking at through a different lens.
Slightly,
yeah. So the consumer products, I guess, and looking at it from the consumer side and all the data that you're collecting. What would be your perspective in terms of innovation in this country and what we're good at and maybe what we need to be doing better?
Yeah, well, I would agree with Breda and Ian. I do think Ireland definitely punches above its weight in terms of great products out there. I mean, we have great products and services and a really innovative, I think, creative people within. We've had to think a bit outside the box in Ireland, and I think the recession has probably taught us to think even further outside the box and be creative. So in that sense, it's an opportunity for us, and I think brands and services now need to look at what they have. If they have a great quality product, how do they expand as a company? How are they going to grow? And to do that, I think you need to start looking outside Ireland. We are a small island, and I think the potential outside Ireland, the export potential for Irish products and services is huge, and I think brands and services need to test the waters in terms of going outside of Ireland, and you can do that in a very controlled manner, and I think companies need to be a little bit, definitely look into that export potential, but doing it in a very controlled fashion and not just jumping in with 2 feet and saying, look, we've got too big, we need to export and that's where we're going to get our growth. There definitely needs to be a test system in place, and just because you have a great product or service in Ireland, it will probably be a great product or service abroad, but the communication that you use might not directly transfer, and I think that's something the brands and services in Ireland really need to look at. So yes, you have a great product, but you need to look at your communication mechanism of how you get that brand across in other markets. Sometimes it can be as simple as tweaking the packaging, making your marketing campaign slightly different. I mean, there are a lot of enablers now today, technology being a huge enabler for companies today, and I think companies need to use that, but test and control before making that large investment. I don't know if any of you saw my colleague Ben talk earlier, but there are only 10% of new products that make it are truly successful innovations out there. And I think if you want to be truly successful, the way to do it is be 100% sure it's going to deliver, because the cost of failure is too high for companies nowadays, and that they must succeed. And I think the only way to be truly satisfied that that's going to happen is by doing it in a controlled test format. So that would be my biggest, I suppose, challenge to Irish brands and services.
I can very much relate to that. Consumer products being my own background historically. TJ, a very successful SME technology company from the west of Ireland who has cracked the Irish market, doing very well as I understand it in the UK, and now looking to further afield into the US. So what do we need to be doing for SMEs in this country to be the best in terms of innovation?
Okay. Well, I suppose first focus on just a few of the positives. And there has been a lot of positives over the last 5 years. As we've grown, we've used the help of a number of agencies. There's funding and there's agencies out there. And we have mentioned here that, yeah, they are dispersed, but they're there, and use them. And certainly as an SME, we have 130 employees. We hope to get to 150 by the end of the year. But for SMEs, we put $1 million a year into R&D, but you have to get a return on it. Some of the multinationals can afford more money and can take a longer time to get a return on investment. With SMEs, you need the cash flows or you need to be getting a return. So we've used the IRDG, we used Enterprise Ireland for funding. We've got, for us, it's about collaboration and networking, because with 130 employees, we know retail, and we know what the retailers want. But with a pool of only 130 people, you don't have the calibre in every area. So the expertise has to come from somewhere else. And the collaboration with colleges, with IRDG, with design thinking, with master classes, with lean production development, these are all things that help you improve. And currently we're looking for instance, we're moving to a back office in the cloud. Again, we have the expertise in how to do the architecture. We're looking for UI and UX experts. So we're collaborating with DCU and we're looking at other organisations. I suppose that's on the positive side. We also have an Intertrade Ireland Fusion program on at the moment. And again, we get to use of an academic for a full year who has 20 years experience in architecture and design. And again, that sort of stuff, while you might be able to enter the way, that brings you that extra 20%. And that's the sort of stuff we have used over the last few years. And more of that, certainly, so we would ask for. I suppose in terms of any sort of weaknesses, currently we're in the recruitment drive. We've seen this over the last few years. There is a skill shortage, Dean mentioned in the area. And it's in specialities. It's for the moment, like we're talking about data analytics, the Internet of Things would be a thing to come for. So wherever we can get clusters and people together to understand and kind of bring out what are the issues that people are seeing when they move to a cloud platform. Rather than us trying to make all the mistakes, let's get more groups together, discuss how people have done it, how people are currently implementing it, and how people plan to do it in the future. And kind of work together, certainly as SMEs, work together and collaborate to get the best out for everyone. We certainly collaborate with a lot of different groups. Even next year, Nielsen, we were just talking earlier, I've seen it on the panel. We actually collaborate where we collect all the information and then we pass it on to Nielsen who give an added value in terms of the data that we give to them. So there's a lot of collaboration and networking, and that's certainly what's positive, I think, more than what we want.
Thanks, teacher. I mean, there's a few themes coming out there: collaboration, putting it together, skills, rigorous testing, lots of key issues there. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to put it out to the floor. Maybe there might be one or two questions people might have, and I'll run down with the mic so that you can ask. So, any questions there on the floor on the topic that we've discussed? We have one here.
Thank you, Dennis. Well done to you and the IRGG and the conference organisers. I think the fact that there's a lot of delegates here today and there's great participation from the commercial sector means the future of ecosystem in Ireland in innovation is in good hands. My question is to Emer. I heard recently we do an awful lot of product innovation. I heard recently that life is coming to an end for product innovation, and it's mainly around about the consumer experience. Any comments on that?
Yeah, two very good points there. I mean, brands definitely need to personalise in terms of their offering to consumers. So the way forward is definitely about how you can personalise your offering to consumers. And ultimately, if a product doesn't meet a consumer need, the chances of success are going to be limited in terms of how it's going to deliver. So I think people need to take all the insight and data. We're living in a very data-heavy world at the moment, but it's taking the insight from that data and actually making inferences from it. And I think the people who can do that are the ones who are going to produce real winning breakthrough innovation, because ultimately the insight needs to tell you what's going to grow, what's the big bet, what do consumers want, and if you can meet that need, ultimately you're going to reach success in the marketplace today.
Thanks, Hugh. Thanks, Eva. Any other questions from the audience there? So, I mean, if we were to, oh yeah, sorry, there's one down at the end there.
Hi, I'm Frank Devitt. Just following on perhaps from that last question, I wonder, I'd be a bit controversial and say, is there too much emphasis on STEM? And so, Emer just spoke there about the consumer experience. Well, you know, the drivers for innovation are sort of technology innovation, technology and user-centered innovation, and business model innovation, other types of innovation besides technology innovation. So the government supports are mostly oriented towards supporting the STEM research, but a lot of research goes, as we heard earlier today, goes into researching user experiences and researching business models and that sort of thing. There's less support for that from the government, and I wonder, even in terms of the R&D tax credits, would that be a useful thing? What does the panel think?
Thanks, Frank. Yeah. So I'll hand that over. Anybody want to? Ian wants to take that one up. Yep.
I'll have a crack at that. It's a very relevant point because that is where the market is going. It's something that we've been talking to Irish Revenue on a very regular basis around. Look, it's not just about the technology that enables the fundamental research to happen, but it's all about the user interface and what the customer interaction is between the technology and how that's going to interact going forward. We've been grappling with Irish Revenue and indeed Department of Finance on a number of occasions to actually try and broaden the definition of what is R&D. Taking the standard OECD definition of R&D, which has been around for the last probably 15 to 20 years. I mean, if you were to look at what was going on 15 or 20 years ago versus what's going on now, the world is a completely different place. And therefore, to my mind, the definition of R&D has actually moved a hell of a lot along that curve as well. So I absolutely take your point. It's something that we are trying to incorporate into the R&D tax credit through liaising with Irish Revenue. They haven't bitten yet, and I think this may be something that may need to be raised at an OECD level rather than just an Irish level.
Okay, anybody else?
I think also, Frank, just to respond to that, I think also that this is where we get a lot of feedback from the multinational companies about the definition around R&D, and they're very challenged about that. And I know some of the larger indigenous companies will be just as similar. So this is where your partnership and collaboration needs to come into force, really. So the client is saying one thing, other agencies are saying another, but this is where you need a really firm voice rather than, I think, going in a separate way. So, sort of back to us again, as particular different types of organisations and agencies. That really feedback needs to go back into the system. Because you're completely right in the challenge that you raised there, Frank. I think that's quite accurate. I mean, particularly when I look at the services industry, you probably won't be surprised to know that the breakdown between the multinational companies will be roughly 51% of service industries in Ireland are multinational, and the remainder are manufacturing. So at that level of, you look at PayPal, the size of it, just made a recent announcement. A lot of service industries, a lot of HQs based here in Ireland, and they're all looking to develop and grow their business through research and development. And a lot of that will be excluded, really, under the current definition. So we do need a strong, firm voice in it. A very good point to raise.
Absolutely. Any other? I mean, I think actually that is a very relevant point because last year, for instance, was the year of design, and that was all about bringing maybe some non-technical skills to bear or to marry with technical to drive innovation. And and I think the point Breda made about services companies, indigenous and multinational, it's a huge part of the economy, and they miss out on a lot of those incentives. So I think that's very useful. Unfortunately, I'm getting signals at the end there that time is catching up, so it's a short panel discussion, and we're going to have to move on. Time is money, they're telling me. So I'm going to cut it there. I know there's a few other questions, but we'll leave it. So I'd like to thank Breda O'Toole from the IDA, Ian Collins from Ernst & Young, Emer Hennessy from Nielsen, and TJ McHugh from CB. Maybe a round of applause for the panel.